Well, guys, Donald Trump's gonna be the next president. I know, it still doesn't feel real to say. Like, how did America make this choice? We know why, we know how. You know, none of it should really be a surprise anymore, especially after this long, but it still feels wrong to say. It almost feels like I'm speaking to you from like another world or something, like an alternate timeline. But regardless, it is the truth. And since Trump and all the insane shit he's promised to do if he gets elected is going to happen, assuming he tries to do what he said he'll do, there's a lot of stuff that we can look forward to happening here in America. And no doubt overseas too, because what happens here in America has a big impact on what happens elsewhere. So if you're not American, don't think you're completely just, you know, nothing to worry about here. You guys have a lot to worry about over this election, trust me. Like, everywhere else follows America and is very much affected by the things America does. Y'all are gonna feel this. So, with that said, we got a lot to look forward to. And by that I mean to be terrified of and really worried about. And what are those things? There's so much at this point that it's like, man, where do we even begin? Like, what's the breakdown? Well, thankfully, while I may not be the best source on that information, you know who would be? A beloved, well-known lawyer, such as Legal Eagle, who made a video called All the Crazy Stuff Trump is Going to Do. It's blown up. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's watching it. It's doing really well right now, which of course I love to see. And we love some Legal Eagle, so I am excited to check out this video and see what the deal is all about. All the crazy stuff that Trump is going to do. Obviously, we know a lot of the things he's promised, especially when it comes to his econ stuff. That's been a big part of the discussion lately, since his economics are probably what won him the election. And man, the people who voted for him thinking it's going to be good for the economy are in for a rude awakening, and one we're going to laugh at a lot. Yeah, we're going to be laughing a lot at the Trump supporters finding out what a tariff is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They'd be doing the same to us if the roles were reversed, so we're going to laugh very hard at them. But with that said, what other things do we have to look forward to? Let's find out.
This is gonna be so bad. Well, get ready for Trump's Project 2025, because Trump surrogates are already admitting that Project 2025 was the plan the whole time. But yeah.
Yeah, well, part of this was also so we can admit that we are going to implement
Trump surrogates are already admitting that Project...
It is my honor to inform you all that Project 2025 was real the whole time.
2025 was the plan.
Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually Project 2025 is the agenda, lol. So these are all figures who obviously, like I've talked about throughout many of my streams, they got really big off of this, like, denying that this is the kind of stuff they want to do, like hyper-authoritarian, like, overreaches of power and whatnot. They've always denied that this is what they wanted, particularly when the left challenged them by saying this is what they wanted to do. And they would slyly smirk at you and say, no, that's not what I want to do. But the smirk wasn't as, like, you know, just to be affable or nice. The smirk is to send you the message that they know you know what they are. And to communicate with no words what is going on. That the audience has fallen for their ruse and are buying into an ideology that is certainly not best for them. They know you recognize it and can't do a thing about it, and they want you to be mad about it, and that it brings them joy. And so tweets like this, and like the Nick Fuentes tweet about your body, my choice, play into that. Now they can finally drop that and admit, and with the lull at the end, it's like, aren't you lefties triggered? We denied this the whole time. We tricked the American people into thinking Project 2025 was just some meme the Dems were freaking out over. But yeah, it was the objective the whole time. Get wrecked, libs. Of course, literally admitting that they lied to the American people that voted for their guy, and now they're able to finally be honest about what they're fighting for. It's also that kind of, there's a little bit of catharsis there of like, oh yeah, you were right the whole time, lefties, but it's already too late. You know, that's part of the sort of rubbing the salt in the wound.
And the whole time. But yeah, this is going to be terrible, and not in a politics as usual way. If you win the presidency, you get to issue your own executive orders and rescind the prior guys and sign legislation into law. If you're elected, you get to pull the levers that Congress has delegated to you. To the victor go the spoils. But what we're about to see is changing the rules midstream. What we're about to see is pure dirty pool. This is gonna be bad. And I feel comfortable using that normative language because what we're about to see is not only someone who is unbound by laws, mores, norms, and tradition, but someone that controls all three branches of government. And this is a type of unmitigated control. It's a type we've never really seen in this country. And in particular, because a lot of this deals with and relies on the judiciary, it will take probably 40 years to undo what's about to happen. But because I'm a masochist, I compiled a list of all the crazy legal stuff that I expect in the...
We're likely, like, if you're 25, 26 years or older, you're never going to live to see a not hard-read Supreme Court. Sadly, we are fighting for a future we don't get to live to see anymore. That's this election settled. We will never live to see the future we're fighting for. It's for future generations. We are solely fighting for future generations now. We'll never see that future or anything close to it. We're going to be clawing our way out of a deep hole until we are dead, and it'll be our grandchildren that might be able to think about making progress again. That is completely true. We will not have a not hard-read Supreme Court for at least 50 years, I believe. They're looking to put at least 3 decades younger Supreme Court justices in place when Alito and Clarence Thomas step down. So yeah, it's going to be...
first few years of these...
We could stack the court, but that might also be a worry considering, you know, what if this happens again? Then you've got a stacked red court, right?
Second Trump administration. Now this will be an unusual video because I'm making some...
Like we could add seats, then you've got it's even worse, right? We could try to counter this. I don't think the Supreme Court, as it exists today, should exist. There should not be lifetime appointments. I don't think it should be okay for the left to be able to stack the court or the right. I get that sounds like cringe to say the left shouldn't be able to do it, but if the left can do it, so can the right, and that's too dangerous. I don't like the stacking the court thing. I don't like adding a new seat because that could get dangerous as well. There's some riskiness there. What if you just lose all the seats then, right? Now there's an extra seat that even if you start to retake the Supreme Court with an administration that can make some appointments, you're fucked. I think it's probably best to try to, God, I don't know how you'd even begin to do it, but try to fight to have there be term limits in the Supreme Court, like 5 to 6 years would probably be reasonable. Because lifetime appointments is just, good God. Who the fuck came up with lifetime appointments to the Supreme Court? Whose idea was that, specifically? Which founding father came up with it?
Guesses here. Politics is not an exact science, and law is the byproduct of politics. So these are just my predictions, and we can check back in a year or two and see how we did. Frankly, I think I'm going to underestimate the amount of crazy stuff that's about to happen. Now, there's 3
Yeah, lifetime appointments for an unelected position. Yeah, very good point, Heavy Gretel. Like, one of the weirdest, most anti-American things in America. It's so bizarre.
Categories of things that I expect. The first is things that Trump can do immediately without further approval, like executive orders. Then there's stuff where it's unclear if approval is needed, it's a legal gray area, or you can just force it through illegally, especially if you have a compliant judiciary. And then there's stuff that would definitely require further approval from something like Congress, things like passing legislation. But let's start with the executive. First of all, the guardrails are gone. There are not going to be any adults in the room. It appears that Trump has learned his lesson from hiring institutionalists the first time around and is just going to hire every toady and troll he possibly can. And as we'll discuss, there's a very good chance that he fires a lot of the nonpartisan career civil service. He would certainly fire Jack Smith immediately if Jack Smith is still there. And as we covered in one of the last videos, it looks like Jack Smith may not be around because of the interplay between the 1973 OLC memo and the fact that it's DOJ policy.
We covered a video from Legal Eagle recently about how Trump's never going to be able to go to jail now. Like, he's now free of every possible thing he could have been charged with. He ran out the clock perfectly. He got away with it. All of it. Everything. And so, yeah, like, Legal Eagle's pretty pissed. As a guy who spent his whole life studying the law, gaining a respect for it, and the rule of law, you can imagine that it's pretty disappointing to see the American people elect a guy who is antithetical to it and yet simultaneously utilizes it as a rhetorical ploy to trick people into supporting him.
That the executive branch can't prosecute the president himself. And on that score, I'd probably expect pardons for the January 6ers and other reprobates. Now, usually presidents wait to issue pardons until the end of their term, but Trump is already a lame duck. And since some of those prosecutions are going on right now, you might expect the pardons sooner rather than later. It would also be super trolly and lib triggering, so that's another reason why I expect Trump to do it. Now, I don't really expect him to pardon himself, except maybe on the way out to pardon himself for everything that he does between 2025 and 2029. mainly because he doesn't need to pardon himself for anything he did prior to taking office because he has escaped justice. All the federal prosecutions are dead because he was elected, and the state prosecutions are probably on hold, but are effectively dead because they can't prosecute while he's president either. Presumptively. I mean, we don't know how the Supreme Court will rule, but we definitely know how the Supreme Court would rule. You can expect
I fucking love that line. We don't know how the Supreme Court would rule, but we definitely know how the Supreme Court would rule. Perfect fucking line. Couldn't have put it better myself, Legal Eagle. God, I love this man. I hope I get to meet him one day. I'm so glad one of the most, like, respected content creators on this platform just is this base. I guess you have to be pretty base to be this educated, but no, there are plenty, like, listen, Ben Shapiro is Harvard educated and is yet still one of the most prominent conservative pundits out there. But, you know, what I mean, right? Like, it's expected that someone as smart as Legal Eagle would happen to be progressive. It's just nice, because so many well-educated, affluent people are gravitating towards right-wing politics to make easy money, and I'm glad Legal Eagle hasn't done that. He's just breaking down the objective laws that Trump is regularly breaking, and how anti-America Trump objectively is. Because any conversation about how you have to be fair to Trump is already biased. Trump has long since, like, superseded the barrier of like, any charitability. Like, he's crossed that line a long time ago. Anyone who tries to play the charitable character for Trump is either woefully uninformed or willfully dishonest. And you have to know what you're dealing with before you start dealing with it.
a complete clown show of a cabinet. At this point, all the respectable people and institutionalists have learned their lesson and know that Trump has no loyalty, so they don't want anything to do with him, and Trump doesn't want anything to do with them. Now, we already know a few. Marco Rubio has been pegged for Secretary of State. Homeland Security and Chief Puppy Killer Kristi Noem. Tom Homan has been pegged as the border czar. He wrote the immigration.
Tulsi got appointed to be head of U.S. intelligence. Awful, horrible. Tulsi is like the most Russian paid fucker in our government. Well, yeah, no, even more Russian bought out than Trump, than Jill Stein. Tulsi is currently probably fucking Putin right now.
Section of Project 2025, by the way. And drink up, kids, because Matt Gaetz is gonna be.
Forgive me for my crassness, but clearly the left needs to start getting a little edgier if we're going to succeed. But I would even go so far as to say that Tulsi is Putin's whore. Genuinely bought out by Russia, anti-American, horrifying someone like that is now in charge of U.S. intelligence. Our country is in objectively awful hands. Like he said, there are no adults in the room. Our government is about to be a toy to be played with by children for about 4 years. 2 at least.
BAG. So expect a whole bunch more in Project 2025, folks, as well as appointments doled out as political rewards to reward people who were loyal to Trump. And, oh my God, he's nominating Fox morning anchor Pete Hegseth to Secretary of Defense. This is definitely the bad place. And while Trump has a Senate majority to rubber stamp most of his appointments, he appears to be demanding that the Senate enter a recess so he can appoint everyone with a recess appointment without Senate confirmation at all, which tells you something that some of these people are going to be so unpalatable that even a Republican-controlled Senate would not consent to them. And as I said, expect a complete gutting of the administrative state, just firing any career civil servant who isn't out and out loyal to Trump and MAGA. Now, this is going to be a high priority for Trump because during his first term, his ambitions were thwarted by people who weren't blindingly loyal. And as our own Liz Dye explained, Project 2025 is not just a
Zan, you forgot RFK Jr. in that he will affect food, drug, and water medicine. Oh, Delancer, don't you worry. I haven't forgotten. In fact, literally just today in the announcements section of my Discord, I posted this image and captioned it, "Me after eating any food or taking any medicine regulated and handled in America after Trump takes office." And then I posted this image. Trust me, I've not forgotten that RFK is going to be in charge of our food and medicine. The worms! The worms! The worms are back! The worms!
Policy blueprint. It was also meant as a recruiting tool to help identify people who are all in on Trumpism. And the end goal is to get rid of all civil servants and replace them with right-wing ideologues. So on day one, expect Trump to reinstate his Schedule F, which he did at the end of his first term, which is a Trump executive order that purports to let him reclassify a ton of federal employees, as many as 50,000 of them, to be treated the same as political appointees. So
Do you guys remember how Betsy DeVos handled the Department of Education when Trump was president the first time? How bad it got, how awful she was. Now, I want you to imagine it's 10 to 100 times worse. That will give you an idea of what it's about to be like.
He can fire them. Generally, civil servants have some protections, but political appointees can be hired and fired at will by the president. This executive order basically removed all the protections and said that they were treated the same as political appointees. Trump first issued this executive order in October of 2020. Biden rescinded it, and then the Office of Personnel Management issued a rule that says the president cannot reclassify employees for arbitrary reasons. But Trump is obviously going to challenge that in court, or he could simply promulgate a new rule. Now, to do this, Trump would need to ignore the APA and the regulatory framework of the civil service protection. But Trump can try a ton of things, including arguing that he has broad authority to ignore the APA for national security reasons.
I will say it's scary to me that, like, so many YouTubers on the left have been saying there's not that much to worry about with a Trump presidency. There's going to be a lot of mud. There's going to be a lot of roadblocks. And I've believed that. But this lawyer is telling us, guys, it's going to be bad. That scares me, guys.
Emergency reasons. And if Trump just simply fires all those people and lets them battle it out in court, then the battle is won anyway. He either has to undo the Office of Personnel Management regulation through rulemaking, which would take some time, or he'll have to ignore the existing reg, which is legally impermissible, technically. Now, the norm for basically forever was to leave the career staff in place so the government could actually function from one administration to the other. And this would be a monumental shattering of norms. But this appears to be part of a larger plan to gut the administrative state to make it not work at all. Trump might just fire them all without bothering to replace them with ideologues.
A big part of this is Trump's end goal and the Republicans' end goal is probably to destroy the federal government, realistically. I don't think the Republicans sincerely believe they can conquer America. Their ideology isn't even the most popular. Even after this election, I don't think they believe that. I think they fully understand they won by the skin of their teeth and on a single issue, that if they had not campaigned on that issue as hard as they did, they would have lost, and probably by a lot. And that was the economy. If they hadn't pushed the economy as hard as they did, if they had pushed culture war issues as hard as they did in 2020, they would have lost. They would have. The Republicans would not have pushed the right messaging to the people to get the vote. The thing that people voted for, much more than immigration, Wingo. Far more than immigration. Immigration actually polled lower than we expected. Before the election, immigration polled as like a second-rate issue, maybe the top issue. It actually came out to be like third or fourth, maybe fifth on a lot of exit polls from the actual ballots, like ballot box areas. It actually wasn't that high of an issue, but everything unanimously confirmed, both before and after the election, that the biggest polling issue, the wedge issue that would win whichever candidate won the election, was the economy. With the perception that Harris was that the Dems had done badly for the economy, ruin Harris, or would Trump's awful handling of COVID back in 2020 lose him his talking, like, would the talking points not work about the economy because of how he handled COVID? That was the big question. Everyone knew the economy would be one of, if not the biggest issue to decide the election results. I just don't think a lot of people expected that so many Americans would fall for Trump's lies about the economy.
Or require a loyalty oath from everyone. Now, departments are funded by Congress, but it's up to the executive to run them. And I really hope you don't rely on the government or interface with it, because there's a good chance that large swaths of the government simply won't work soon. And there's also been talk that security clearances would be given out by fiat without any background check, or based on a paltry background check completed by a hand-picked private firm rather than the FBI. The subtext being that many folks would not be able to receive a security clearance through normal channels. Not to mention, this would also be an easy way to punish detractors by removing clearances or preventing them from getting a security clearance. And also expect Trump to remove any protections for whistleblowers, which he can simply do through executive order. And speaking of a clown car cabinet, it appears that RFK Jr. is slated to be the head of the CDC, the FDA, and God only knows what else. Now, historically, the Supreme Court has sided with state authorities to mandate vaccines to protect public health, but that consensus was unsettled after COVID when some courts struck down vaccine mandates. Now, RFK Jr. said he will be given the authority to ban vaccines.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
And who?
It's about to be a crazy next 4 years, dude. So many Americans are going to die. And when the families of those Americans that voted Trump They're like, we didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this. Our baby died of measles. We didn't vote for this, Donald Trump. You're gonna be like, oh no, yeah, you did. Now put your kid in the coffin. Cry about it. You voted for this. That is how the left needs to be in the coming years, okay? Merciless. Bully these people. Kick them while they are down, man. Kick them while they're down, because they are doing the same thing to you right now. The people who voted for Trump right now are the ones coming in and telling you and laughing at you for how upset you are over these results. So when the karma catches up to them, you kick them while they're down, because they did the same to you. No empathy for these people. They have zero empathy already. Their vote tells you that they have no empathy. Have none for them, because they have none for you.
Who knows here? The Food and Drug Administration has the primary responsibility for approving vaccines and pulling them from the market. It works in concert with the Center for Disease Control, and we don't know what role, if any, Trump is going to...
No scapegoat. Trump won the election fair and square. We're going to talk about that in a segment after this one. Election denial from the left, but no. No, we should not try to literally steal the election from Trump. It's just, there's no legal bounds to do so. Trump won the election fair and square, just like Biden did. And just like Trump failed to overturn the election results, Biden would as well, or Harris would as well. The results are what they are. Trump won, and the American people, for very, in hindsight, understandable reasons, though they are dumb and wrong, voted for who they voted for. And it shouldn't surprise us now knowing what the highest polling issue was in this election, the economy, and what Trump promised, a better economy. What Harris did not focus a lot of her rhetoric on, at least what didn't get a lot of attention from most of the media, which was her wanting to focus on building up the economy. Instead, it was constant narratives about how bad the economy is under Biden and Harris, and about how Trump is making crazy promises about how he's going to fix it. In hindsight, it shouldn't surprise you where the American people sent their vote.
Give Kennedy, but if given the authority, look for him to take over systems like the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which monitors adverse reactions to vaccines. RFK also has antidepressants and fluoridated water in his sights as well. And I'm sure despite the dubious legality of these efforts, this will be bolstered by the judiciary, because as we saw with the battle over abortion drugs, some judges are eager to get involved in making safety determinations themselves instead of relying on decades of research. Now, despite the advice of every economist on the planet and anyone who knows how tariffs work, Trump is all in on tariffs. And this is one area where Trump actually might have the ability to implement tariffs without any further approval. The Trade Expansion Act of 1962, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and the Trade Act of 1974 give the president authority to impose tariffs for national security reasons or in response to unfair trade practices. Trump used this discretion in 2018 to impose tariffs on steel and...
I hope so many Trump supporters think that the economy is about to take off under Trump and are buying as much as they can right now. The economy, every index fund is at an all-time high right now because Bidenomics works, right? Under Trump, it was at the biggest low in, I think since 2008. The S&P 500, which is my go-to index fund for investment, just tanked in 2008, and it tanked back down to that point in 2020 and early 2021 with Trump's handling of COVID and with the war that started in 2021 as well with Ukraine and Russia when Russia invaded. So it's now at an all-time high. So I really hope that conservatives thinking that like the S&P is going to skyrocket under Trump because he's so good for the economy and Trump always loves to tout how good he is for the stock market. I hope they're buying right now. Just buying as much as they can, which it seems they are because, the shares are going up. Things are doing well. I hope they're buying as much as they can right now, investing all their life savings as much as they can under the certainty, because they're so certain that Donald Trump's going to make the economy amazing. I hope they're investing all their money. And I cannot wait for when the stock market crashes. Maybe, I don't even know how long Trump will be in office before the stock market crashes. I guess it depends on how long it takes till he implements the tariffs. Man, I really cannot wait to see the chuds mauled over their stock losses when Trump takes office. And I can't wait for them to cope. They're going to cope about how Trump's going to fix it. And in less than a year, they're going to be able to sell and everything's going to be great. They're going to make all their money back and much more profit. And then years are going to go by of them continuously losing value. And it might take multiple Dem administrations just to get things back up to where they were, and they will never make their money back. Oh, man, please tell me the chuds are so confident in Trump they're investing their life savings in stocks right now, thinking Trump's going to be so great for the stock market. Please! I cannot wait to see these fuckers go negative. Please! Oh, it's going to be so good.
Aluminum imports and on a range of Chinese goods. He cited national security reasons for slapping a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum. And will he do it again? Well, yeah, probably. Now, I would actually be surprised if Trump implemented a large tariff on all.
He claims he wants to tariff everything manufactured in China and retailed here, 20 to 60%, and he wants to tariff 20 to 60% on inputs, meaning the raw resources we would use for manufacturing and sale here, or even exporting to sale overseas. So everything that comes from elsewhere, whether it's a product that's already made, or if it's the raw resources to do the manufacturing here, it's getting tariffed. If it's from, well, Trump suggested a lot of countries to tariff. And even right now, the EU is worried that Europe's going to get tariffed by Trump too. And if that happens, dude, our economy is fucked. Whatever chance at American manufacturing you thought we had, we're going to lose that shit. Oh my God, are we going to lose that shit? It'll never end, especially if inputs are tariffed. It'll never be cheaper to manufacture here than overseas. They'll just start manufacturing in like Taiwan or something. Trump wants to defund social safety net, which closes the ER and all of the US hospitals. Oh yeah. Dude, Americans are going to die in droves and swaths so fast once Trump takes office. I'm genuinely curious to see, like, man, do we see like an unprecedented, overwhelming movement to oust the sitting president, unlike anything America's ever seen? Like, what happens when like 90% of Americans are screaming for the current president to be impeached? Like, threatening to not re-elect their House speakers or their senators if they don't vote for impeachment too. Would they have to vote for impeachment, like House and Senate? Yes, because they're so afraid. Because 90% of the U.S. wants Trump gone. That could happen. If this ends up being as bad as Trump and everyone seems to predict Trump promises and everyone predicts it'll be, then there's a chance that we could see an unprecedented ousting of the sitting president due to popular support by the people. Which has happened before, technically. There's been impeachments, but just a full-on, like, the people are done. Like, you lied to us. You've become so unpopular that we are going to push to oust you from government. We are going to pressure the House and Senate to vote on impeachment and impeach you. Like, that would go crazy. That would be a pretty amazing end to the Trump saga. Is that the American people so wholeheartedly rejected him while he was sitting in office, he got kicked out.
All foreign-made goods, simply because tariffs are taxes on the goods imported from foreign countries, and the foreign countries won't be paying them. Those added costs are always passed on to the consumer. And we're already hearing from businesses who are preparing for the tariff era by buying extra products now to avoid paying tariffs next year. So when businesses and consumers actually figure out how tariffs work and complain about the astronomically high prices, you can probably expect some symbolic tariffs, but probably not the across-the-board tariffs and replacing of the entire American tax system that Trump has been arguing for. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Republicans...
Never say never. Listen, people say Trump can't destroy the tax system, that Trump can't do all these overwhelming things that will destroy the country because they're just so crazy. If back in 2016 I said there's going to be a worldwide pandemic, Trump won't respond to it right, and by 2024, 1.7 million Americans will have died from the plague that will spread through the country, and we will still not have dealt with it. It'll be a recurring disease that'll never leave, and the death toll will keep rising indefinitely. We never dealt with it. It's just still around. It's just like a permanent mass killer of people in the first world. If I told you this, that would be a result of Trump's presidency in 2016, if I said that to a platform, people would have called me crazy. How could the president have enough power to mishandle something like that and it affect not only the whole country, but the whole world to such a degree? No one would buy it. No one would believe it. It's so crazy. It's so catastrophic. It's just too crazy to believe to be possible because nothing ever happens, right? After that, man, I don't know if I believe that Trump would be stopped from dismantling the IRS. I would not be surprised if there isn't an IRS anymore after Trump leaves office. Donald Trump, for his buddies, his billionaire buddies, and himself, why would he want to leave office and there still be an IRS? When he is going to have enough governmental power to dissolve these institutions that regulate his businesses, that force him to pay taxes, do you think he's going to leave the office without having destroyed those institutions? No IRS means no taxes. I'm happy. Father Gucci, that sounds good for about 5 seconds, and that is exactly what Trump supporters thought when they voted for him. No taxes, that makes me happy, until you find out that every single expert that knows how this country and the economy runs is now saying, well, you guys voted to destroy the entire country. It was good while it lasted, guys. GG. If Trump does what he promises, it's literally over. You guys literally got bribed with, like, ice cream for dinner and didn't even think for a second about what that might do to you and why you don't generally give kids ice cream for dinner. You literally got bribed into voting for a guy that is about to make you heavily regret it. That's all I can say. This is off topic, but aren't you technically Gen Z, Zan? Yes, I am Gen Z. I'm 25. I was born in 1999. It makes me Gen Z. Technically. Older Gen Z.
Republicans wanted free trade. And honestly, I kind of want to see him go whole hog on tariffs because the inflationary effects would be so big and would happen so fast. It might destroy the economy, but the fire would burn really bright.
You saying the Trump voters got in the white van? Yes. Donald Trump rode up in a white van with shoddily drawn in black paint, or like sprayed in black spray paint, free candy. He pulled up and like the majority of Americans who voted got in the van. That is what happened.
Now, obviously, if you're going to destroy the federal government from the inside, you'd want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've gotten in a car crash, suffered a
I love Legal. This is probably where I'm going to cut off the segment because A, I don't want to, just yoink the whole video, and B, the segment is getting a bit long, and I got to send these to my editor, and they take a while to upload and render. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but, like, Google is trying to kill file sharing, it feels like peer-to-peer file sharing. Like, oh, do you have a video you recorded you want to send to your friend? Oh, sorry, files are too powerful for Discord. Oh, did you try to email it to your friend? Oh, well, that's like 5 gigs, so you've just used like half of your bandwidth that you have on your entire Google account. Do you want to buy a better service or delete like every email you've ever received to make room for what you want to send? It's like, dude, what the fuck? And then if you get Google Drive and do what I do, which is pay like $100 a year or something for like Google Drive Ultimate, where you've got like 2 terabytes of space and some pretty good like benefits. That's how me and my editor like get like my segments uploaded. I upload them to Drive and he downloads them, edits them, uploads them to YouTube. Now Google Drive is dedicating so little, or Google is dedicating so little bandwidth to peer-to-peer file transfer that now I'll upload a video into Google Drive, and the next morning you can't download it because it's still processing. I'm not joking. We've missed upload times because like 14 or 15 hours before a video needed to go out, I sent it, and it sat there processing all night into the morning. And it's still not done processing, can't even be downloaded to begin to be edited and uploaded. And Google's just like, sorry, come back later. Sorry, I know this has been sitting, it's a 30-minute video that's been sitting in here for 14 hours and isn't ready to be downloaded yet, despite it having uploaded in 5 minutes. Yeah, sorry. It's literally all Google's end with processing. I don't know what is going on, but RIP, peer-to-peer file transfer, Google is killing that shit. Enjoy it while you still can, because pretty soon you're gonna have to pay like $300 a year to get a service that lets you send like a 2 gigabyte file to your friend. Because that like companies are going to lock down behind high fucking payment subscriptions any service that allows you to send a large file to somebody else. That shit is going to become a very, very expensive thing. $300 a year, $300 a month. Yeah, honestly, that's not far off. Yeah, I have like a bulk discount due to like Google offers a thing where if you pay for the whole year, then it's a bit less. So that's what I did, just because it's for work. You can write off stuff like that on your taxes too, because if it's for work, it counts. So it's just beneficial to do it that way for me. But yeah, it's if you paid for like it is more like three to $500 a year, but if you paid for it straight up, like the, what is it, $40 a month, $70 a month, something like that, yeah, it would probably come out to like $500 a year. Damn, yeah. With the climate they're gonna grow up in, Gen Alpha is doomed. Real. Yeah, very fucking real. Gen Alpha is in a bad spot. I feel bad. I feel genuinely bad. I thought Gen Z had it rough. Gen Alpha is gonna come into a world that's just, they won't even know how fucking bad it got. But I guess generations before said the same thing about this one. And, you know, people in chat now, so I guess nothing really has changed, because things are always changing. If nothing had changed, then that would be the first time nothing changed. If that, or something changed, if that makes sense. Anyway, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, by the way. Oh wait, no, I already read that one, my bad. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this segment, if you thought it was entertaining, enjoyable, educational, whatever it may be, consider dropping a like. Every single thumbs up, you can consider like casting a blue ballot for YouTube to push my content to more people and get it in front of more people's eyes. If we're gonna fight against the right's domination of the internet with their misinformation machine, we got to put our pedal to the metal. We gotta be hitting the like button and commenting and subscribing to all of our favorite progressive content creators, because man, we gotta grow. I'm not just saying that because I'm a content creator and I want to grow. I do, to be very clear. I do. But simultaneously, as a progressive, I don't want to see the right have a monopoly over messaging on the internet anymore. So let's change that. Hit those buttons, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow my social medias linked down below if you want to see more from me on other platforms. And of course, don't forget to join my fan Discord if you haven't already. It's the main hub of my community and fan base, and on top of that, I host game events, call-in streams, and watch parties there every week on Fridays. Or watch parties every week on Fridays. Like tonight, after stream tonight, we're going to be doing a watch party, new episode of From, and some more Walking Dead. It's going to be a great time. And then, of course, if you want to support me directly, help me keep the lights on, a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, gifting a sub on my website, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch at the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless, no matter how much you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.